All right, hello and welcome to another review. Today we'll be talking about the Mammut Trion Pro 50 plus 7-liter backpack. This backpack is in the gray, I believe it's called like a gravel color or something, gray and orange. There's also a red color available and a sort of blue and green color. I think this is the best looking one. It's the most discreet, low profile one that you can get, and I'm fairly happy with it. The Trion series, in terms of backpacks and clothing as well for Mammut, is focused primarily on mountaineering. So Mammut has naming conventions, and the Trion one is the mountaineering and technical one. They do have some backpacks that are a little bit more focused on load carrying, especially over longer distances. So if that's what you're looking for, you may want to consider another backpack. But I will say that I've used this pack now for a little over 6 months, and it has really become my go-to backpack. I try to pack light in general, and so the sort of minimal frame and whatnot is a little bit better, and it is a really comfortable and useful pack anyways. Let's turn around and take a look at the frame and the back support system. So this bag uses Mammut's Contact U frame, and that's this internal frame that runs inside of this section here. You can't take it out, but it's not super heavy anyways, so it's fairly easy to deal with, and it is pre-molded. So if you take a look at the side, you can see that curve that hugs your back, and you've got that very good lumbar support, which makes it a super comfortable pack to wear. You do have this sort of ventilation that's created over here, although I will say that, you know, I mean, personally for me with most backpacks, I always get a sweaty back, and this is no different. So I will just say, you know, I have yet to find a bag that has an effective ventilation system on the back. Just note that. Now, it looks like this pack has no hip belt. However, it does. It's off frame at the moment, so let me just bring it in here. And here's the hip belt. It would slot, oh, there it is. And that would usually slot right into here, and you would slip it in through this section here. Now, the hip belt is removable, which in my opinion is probably one of the strongest points of this bag. It's a very comfortable hip belt when you've got it on. As you can see, there's some Velcro there, and there's some Velcro underneath this. So that when you put the hip belt on, it'll rotate sideways, but it won't be uncomfortable. The hip belt's also got some attachment points, very similar to what you'd see on a harness, and that's fairly nice if you use that, I guess. But personally, I really like the fact that this hip belt is removable, and anybody who's ever worn a harness will know what I'm talking about, because if you go ice climbing or ski touring or any other activity that involves a harness, you'll know that wearing a harness and a hip belt is just not compatible in general unless you've got a super minimal hip belt. And with this being removable, this bag I think is perfect for that more technical aspect. I will say Mammut also does include a very small strap lanyard. I think I have it here. Here it is. This, which can replace the hip belt. So you just slot it into either side over here, and then that makes a new belt. I usually just go without it. You know, if I'm wearing a harness, it's nice to have a free hip. I personally prefer it. I know some people don't really mind having something around their hip, but when I'm wearing a harness already, I like to be able to access everything easily, and this bag does that very nicely. There is, of course, a sternum strap, which is fully adjustable all along this piping, both sides, and then you've got your standard whistle, just like you see on every backpack today. You've also got, of course, routing points for your water bladder, water hydration, and that pops out just here, and we'll take a look at that in a second, and some attachment points on these, and that won't slide because that's sewn in. I will mention that the quality in this bag is really, really good. I've used this now for a little over 6 months, and there's really no issues at all with it. I've laid this down on pretty rough rock terrain, and you can see a little bit of abrasion happening here. But that's fairly normal. This is, I believe this is either heavy-duty nylon or Cordura, and there's really not, I mean, obviously there is abrasion, that's normal, but there's no sign of any of it failing. Mammut is known for their quality, and I really do generally swear by Mammut. Let's take a look now at this clamshell opening. This is a fairly unusual type of opening. Most bags have the clamshell on the other side, and I found that this is useful for 2 reasons. Now, Mammut markets this as being useful mostly because when you're climbing and doing something like multi-pitch climbing, or when you're super high up on a wall, you can just spin the bag around and open it on this side. Mammut claims that that's That's the intended feature of it. But I found that it's also really nice for when you're laying your bag down on some snow or on some dirty ground, you're not dirtying the side that goes back on your back. So with most bags that have the clamshell on the other side, you got to put the bag down on the dirt. So that's a very useful feature. And I've actually used it more for that because when I'm on a multi-pitch, I don't really touch my bag anyways. I mean, I wear it, but I don't open it up. So as is typical of Mammut as well, the quality is very good. The zippers are sealed, as you can see, and I haven't really had any issues. I mean, this bag is water resistant. It's not fully waterproof, and it doesn't come with a rain fly. Although I will say I haven't really had an issue with it being wet. There you go. The zipper pulls are great as well with gloves. They function fine. And here's the opening of the clamshell. As you can see, there is that real, you can see the frame, and the frame is contained in here. So it's a little bit flexible, but it's fairly comfortable. And on the inside of this clamshell opening, you have your water bladder storage, and the also what's very nice is a port to, if your water bladder has the port on the bottom, you can route it out through here. And then you've got your exterior out through here as well. There we go. I will say, probably one of the weak points of this bag is because of this clamshell opening being fairly small, because of the way the bag is constructed, you cannot fit a huge water bladder in here. So 1.5 liters is probably the max you can get in here. I tried with a 3-liter source, and that was too big. So just keep that in mind. For me, it wasn't a huge issue. Obviously, most of my other bags, I'm used to putting huge water bladders, but not a huge thing here. I've just got some dry sacks, first aid kit that just kind of lives in here for now. And yeah, and this is access to the main compartment of the bag. There really isn't much to it. Here's some more loops to secure your water bladder on the inside. There we go. And that's all there is to it, really. This bag is fairly standard and minimalistic on the inside. Let's close that back up. There we go. So like I said, that's a really good feature. I really appreciated that sort of new take on things. I think Mammut does make quality products, and when they bring new features, they do it with a fairly smart approach. All right, let's move up now to the top. This top is removable as well, so that way you can have a sort of more a cleaner look to the bag if you want, and a smaller oversized footprint. And it's also expandable, so you've got these straps here that can cinch down for when your bag is just sort of normally, when you're on that 50-liter mark. And if you want to expand to give it that extra 7 liters, like it says, you can just pull these out, and same on the other side as well. This cover is fairly standard. You've got one exterior pocket with lots of space, to store sunglasses or whatnot, items that you need really quick access to. And on the inside, you have a see-through mesh pocket with a key clip. That's all there really is to that top cover. We'll talk a little bit more about the top in a second. Let's take a look at the front of the pack as well as the sides. Now, on the sides of the pack, you have 2 compression straps, 1 and 2. And you've also got these straps here, which are ski binding holders, or ski holders. They're designed, you can rest your ski bindings here, and it's really nice because on most bags, when you put your skis on, the bindings will rest on the compression straps, and that makes your bag all wonky, and it sort of pulls in an uncomfortable fashion. These straps don't pull, and they're non-adjustable, but they are very much made to hold your skis. So that's a really nice feature. Something that I've used a couple times, and I can tell you that it's definitely a very comfortable bag to carry skis with. Moving to the front of the pack now, this is where a lot of the features are, and I think a lot of the good features on this pack are. All right, so you've got your standard ice axe holders right here. So the typical loops, and these are good for your Glacier Traverse ice axes, so the long straight ones. However, if you have more technical, so ice climbing axes, you have these holders right here. So you can stick your points in here, like that, and then you've got the ice axe shaft that can go right here. And what's great about this bag is you have these Velcro adjustable holders. Now most packs have elastic holders, And elastic holders are fine, but with these Velcro straps, you can really cinch down the ice axes to make sure they don't move. So for long approaches, I found that these straps are really, really nice because the ice axes really will not budge. They won't clank around, and that's really nice. They're attached to this sort of semi-molly webbing here. You've got 3 on each side. And so if you need to cinch something down, you can do that right there. However, if you need to cinch something down that's bigger, say a sleeping bag, you cannot do that on the bottom. However, Mammut came up with a solution for that, and you do have these side compression straps, which you can undo, and on each side. And that way you can bring them around, and they're opposite ends when you bring them around, which is really convenient. And that way you do have a strap on the front. So obviously that does away with your compression straps, but if you're having to put a sleeping bag on the outside, then your bag is probably already pretty full anyways. So it's a very nice feature. I will say I have not used that yet because I have not had to carry a sleeping bag on the outside, but I think it's nice that they thought of that, and it's very useful. One other note about these Velcro attachment points, because they're expandable as well, you have room to carry a lot of stuff. So I've carried, on the same pack on the outside, I've carried both trekking poles and ice axes just resting here. So that was a lot of stuff on the outside, but it was really, really nice. We also have here what Mammut calls a crampon holder pocket, so this exterior pocket. At the moment I have just this survival blanket which lives in my pack. Always useful to have one. This is one that I opened a while ago to use, and anybody who's ever opened one knows that they're impossible to fit back in those tiny plastic bags, so keep it in a Ziploc bag. Now, I don't usually store my crampons in here. It's designed to, keep them separate, especially if they're wet from the rest of the pack. But I find that usually when my pack is full anyways, it just compresses out. So I usually keep maps and food in here. This is my food and maps pocket. It has easy access, quick access, so I don't have to look through the rest of the bag. And that's a nice place to put it. I also usually keep real carabiners here. So that's a tiny key carabiner, which is useless, but usually I've got a screw carabiner on the outside. Alright, moving up to the top, you have this typical double closure system. Now that's useful if you take the top off, and that way you can just cinch it down and have it look like those sort of rope bags with no real tops. I've used this a couple times that way, and it's very nice. As you can see, that cinches down nicely, and it does keep out rain fairly well. I've even worn this this way when snowing, and there's been no problems. Obviously it gets a little wet, but that's the way it is. And then one other important feature to note is Mammut has included a rope carrier here. So you have this, let me just undo this actually. There you go. Alright, so you got a little clip here. On the other side you have a lanyard, which is rolled up for me now because I don't like having it just be chilling around, but it's rolled up. But you can bring it across, and that way that closes that up, and that's to hold the rope. And so that way you can also put it in the compression straps, and that keeps it nice and secure. Anybody who's ever had to carry ropes know that it really sucks having to carry a rope and then have it move around. And that's about it as far as features go. This bag is both simple and full of features at the same time. I have to say that I've been very happy with it. I've taken it ski touring, climbing, ice climbing, and just hiking. And it's performed well in all those roles. Like I said at the beginning of the video, this bag it has that minimalist frame. And so if you're planning on carrying super heavy weights, then you may want to think about another pack. But this does sort of force you to think a little bit more ultralight. The bag itself is very lightweight and fairly simple, and I think it looks very nice. Mammut is known for their quality, and a lot of people, a lot of guides, especially in Switzerland, swear by this brand. I have not been let down by this pack. There's a little bit of threads coming off these Velcro poles, but in general, I would say that this bag is very nice. I'm very happy with it, and yeah. So if you have any questions about this pack, feel free to leave a comment. I always try and answer, and leave a like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, guys, and see you soon. Bye-bye.